Welcome, one and all to Kunoichi CGL and the Kunoichi Krush tournament. My name is K-Wing, and alongside me is Willowtron, here to bring you the action. And Willow, it was my understanding that yesterday, when the NA bracket kicked off, we had some unauthorized shenanigans. We had a bit of clownery, a touch of tomfoolery, if you will, but I'm here to assure you that today, under my watchful gaze, that will not continue. We will be only the most serious of casters, only the most serious of Overwatch action, and only the most serious of the marginalized gender scene, which of course we know to be the most serious of all of the Overwatch scenes. So are you ready to kick this off?
Yeah, no, I'm here, and I am also a watchful gaze, so I am completely ready and 100% serious for this cast. Gonna start it off strong.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, I think what we saw yesterday in our NA division was a little bit of tomfoolery, but also there's an element of how do you kill a Wrecking Ball right now? All of the tanks got giga buffed, and yet also Wrecking Ball is just kind of unstoppable. Pharah, the 25 health change is not nothing, but it's not like it's going to make a huge difference. I think it just kind of pushes Ashe a little bit further into the meta, so I don't know. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if we saw a little bit of shenanigans going on in EU as well, but nevertheless, I think we are going to be seeing some seriousness nonetheless as we have our NA ambassadors coming over towards the region. Our first match, MRG Amethyst versus Valentine, I think is there's a clear favorite, I think, going into this. The team that was giving everyone trouble earlier on in this Calling All Heroes season was able to claw it back, even in spite of what looked to be a very compelling underdog run from Fable. Only fell at the last possible hurdle to a team that has always been top of this kind of region. I think Valentine have got everything in their favor going into this one, and realistically, we do have to look at MRG Amethysts and say, how far are they actually going to be able to push this? It is just a first to two, so they can't really afford to make any mistakes, but if it's any consolation, it's not like they're stuck in here for the long run.
Yeah, for MRG Amethysts, that's our first team of this day. You have a lot of incredible talent. You have talent from Calling All Heroes Rising series coming into their own, coming into this main series with, you were talking about Wamehi before we went on this broadcast. You also have Vaxis on the tank, Sophie and Neko on the DPS line, and then Sea Bunny rounding out that support line. So this is not a team without talent, mind you. The problem is just, well, Willow, the team they're going up against, isn't it?
I mean, we can look at, what possible opposition there is to throw in here, but I feel like there's, in this EU region, only one team that is probably going to be standing up to Valentine, and we're not going to be seeing them just yet. Valentine, however, I mean, their roster is stacked. There's no doubt about it. There's no way of approaching this any differently other than every single member of this roster can stand on their own rights and be phenomenal in every sense of the word. Mari also going to be in to start with, but Kindred sitting in the sidelines too. Realistically, this is not a team that you can play around what kinds of compositions they're going to be uncomfortable on, what kind of maps they're going to be uncomfortable on. They're going to be fine wherever you take them and however you approach this. So instead, you've got to be in the mindset of just playing your own game and trying to figure it out how you make what you want to do work. Because if you're trying to put them in a situation where they're unhappy, you are going to be struggling to find any kind of strategy whatsoever.
Completely. And you have to note that for a team like this, to just casually, no real thing, have a tank like Kindred on the bench, that's terrifying. For a team that has had some of these players come up from Rising, that have quite literally rose, it's definitely going to be a touch of a culture shock coming in against a team that can say, oh, Kindred, yeah, well, we'll bring Kindred in if we have to, I guess if we need her, we'll bring her in. But, you also have, I feel like gushing about every single part of this team because Mari, AJMR, Wicca. Look at that support line. AJMR and Wicca for the support line. That is an elite lineup. And the DPS line and the tank line. I feel myself fangirling over this entire roster because it is so elite. And we've seen how elite it can be in previous Calling All Heroes tournaments. And with making runs for that final cup at the end of these tournaments, and sometimes even dethroning the monarchs of Calling All Heroes at times, Valentine is one of the few teams we've seen that might just have the ability to stand up to them. And you have to be a little bit interested to see just how far that MRGM is this can, like you said, push it.
Try and push it. I feel like there's also an element from Valentine of if they get a little bit too lost in the goofiness, they're going to start making a few mistakes. We saw that in their match against the Hoggers yesterday. I believe Zaina was streaming that. That's a team of random assorted people from within the kind of Rising Series, lower end, open division, kind of Calling All Heroes, just thrown together, and they like playing Hog a lot. They are the Hoggers. Within the first 3 seconds, Jasmine's May picks off AJMR. AJMR is a player that I've been following for a while. First saw them a year ago now, over that in the Blitz 20, so it's been a long time that I've seen AJ playing, and they're really, really good. And also, died within 3 seconds to probably the worst May player I know. Jasmine's is not phenomenal. So, I think that there's definitely a potential here for... I gotta throw strays at my coach, what can I say? There's definitely the potential here for Valentine to get a little bit lost in the sauce, I think, but I think that's more a matter of how are they going to bring it back and rein themselves back in rather than are we going to see them earnestly dropping maps here. It is a first to 2, so there is an aspect of if they get a little bit too lost in the sauce and they drop a map, they are technically on match point. As we started on Antarctic Peninsula especially, I mean, this is a map that as it's been kind of familiarized within the scope of Overwatch esports, people have gotten used to playing. I think that overall teams have a really good understanding of how to approach this map now. A lot of it is actually pretty one-dimensional in the way that you approach it, especially in this Pharah meta where you're just trying to control lanes and spam down angles. But as we get further on into the map pool, where there is, maybe things like Eichenwald that can come in, a map that can be a little bit goofy at times if you just get caught off on first, and then Castle can be kind of, a weird area to play both on the attack or defense, depending on how you set up. There's potential, maybe, for MRG Amethyst to do something. I'm trying to give them a little bit of hopium here as we go into this series, but I think there's only so much we can say before we acknowledge it's going to be most likely pretty one-sided.
Yeah, and I think that, sometimes potentially, I don't want to sound too doomer at the start of this, but for MRG Amethyst, kind of reframing this as, hey, maybe we won't come in and absolutely 1-2 uppercut the Calling All Heroes champion, the Valentine, but maybe we can at least make it somewhat competitive, make it somewhat close, and have individual moments for each of your players to show just how far that they've come. I think for players that have come up from Rising, players that are maybe not the players that you might first think of when you think of the Calling All Heroes circuit, but still showing that there's some skill here beneath the surface, beneath perhaps the cream of the crop. There's still quite a solid bit of corn down beneath.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that for as far as Rising Series players go, the only one that I personally recognize is Wimihai, who was in the Rising Series a while back now, 6 months, longer, a year kind of deal, back when the Rising Series had just started to be established, when all those players were still actually playing in challenges. So it's not like there's going to be zero experience either. It's likely been long enough now that people have started to improve and have started to climb their way up earnestly. I know that there have been a few players who have won previous Rising Series who are now looking to break into the Challenger Series at that lower end. So there's definitely potential here for a team like this to punch up a little bit if they can kind of catch us off guard. It's just when we're looking at sheer name value alone, we do have to acknowledge that there is something of a disparity at the moment. I'm always happy to be surprised. Everyone knows that I love an underdog run. I'm just curious as to if we're going to see it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, anyone who's familiar with Kunoichi, with the Calling All Heroes series, you recognize some of the names on this Valentine roster, but there's always room in our brains for some more names. So maybe we might just be learning some of the names on this MRG Amethyst roster as we look at first map of Antarctic Peninsula. You have to be a little bit excited here, because for MRG Amethyst, you're not expected to win, so you have limitless potential. The bar can only go up from here. So hopefully we can start to see just what makes MRG Amethyst, and potentially how they deal with this in their mental, how they deal with a really tough opponent, if they're going to come in a bit doomer, or if they're going to try and show us their best no matter what.
I think this Antarctic Peninsula in particular is also going to give them a really good option for figuring out what kinds of compositions they're comfortable on playing into Valentine themselves. When we look at what MRG Amethysts are going to be running in Antarctic, they've got the kind of flexibility that comes with all three submaps. The way that you approach each one can be a little bit different. We tend to see things a little bit pokier on some of the submaps, and then we get to like Icebreaker, where we just see the Fara spam come through and it's in full force. Sub-level, where things tend to get a little bit brawlier. The specific style of play that they want to introduce into this match is going to be a little bit on display here for them. I'm not doubting that Valentine will be able to match in terms of flexibility, but I think this is the map that you kind of experiment a little bit and figure out, is there something we can actually run here to try and make it work? And then a map we can take Valentine to that allows us to run this composition at its full strength and really give us a compelling chance to be able to maybe just take a little bit of a turnaround here. I think when we're looking at Antarctic Peninsula in particular, if MRG Amethyst can run out on a really strong May composition, I think there's the potential there for some kind of turnaround. Valentine are really strong on a composition like this, and it would be likely that Kindred would be coming in for that. But if Mari's starting, maybe there's the potential that you can kind of try and catch them off guard, get them a little bit uncomfortable. Well, as we can see, Vax is floating the Diva at the moment as well. We know that Ashe has been slowly creeping into the meta with the cast nerfs and then the breakpoint changes for Pharah, meaning that Ashe can now headshot, body shot. There is the potential for some kind of like anti-dive, just spam in with like the Diva Ashe. If Seabunny really does like the Mercy, there's at least a decent pocket target for you there. I don't know, I feel like there's potential here for some kind of comfort pick. I think the pain point is going to be if you do roll out on a Mercy Zenyatta, which I would not expect. But if you do roll out on a Mercy Zenyatta, you're probably going to be struggling into a hard dive that Valentine are going to be able to run with Mari in the mix here. Zoe as well, starting up on that Genji, is going to be punishing any kind of Zenyatta that you can be put forward. So I do think there's something to be worried about here for MRG Amethysts, but I don't think there's anything more to say about it. I think all we can do left now is actually see it in action.
Yeah, and we're just waiting on these teams. They were having a touch of technical difficulties. I promise you didn't just accidentally tune into the hour-long Kunoichi podcast. You are in the correct place to watch this game. We're right about to get into it. Just waiting on those final little checks, making sure all the I's are crossed and all the T's are dotted, or something like that. I'm not actually very good at writing. Either way, just waiting for those final little AOKs from the teams, getting the R's and all that. But MRG Amethyst and Valentine, I'm very excited to see this Valentine roster in action, and I've been incredibly excited to see it this entire Kunoichi and Calling All Heroes season. And I can't wait to see it in action here. The anticipation, it's building. We got to keep you on your toes, chat, just to make sure that you're always waiting, just waiting for it. And it'll be on its way soon. All right. I think we can go into just generally the structure of the EU bracket and how this is going to be working. all of this is, of course, first to two, with the exception of our grand finals. We are, of course, in the round robin segment of the in the round robin segment of the tournament, and we will be moving on a bit later tomorrow, even into our winners finals, our losers finals, and our grand finals, which will be tomorrow in that same time, in that same place. So make sure that if you aren't already, you're following Kunoichi on Twitch so that you can watch this tournament, be updated on all of that, and for all the tournaments in the future, you can watch as our wonderful head rammer and our wonderful Tiny Shiny rack their brains to try and find more words that start with K and mean fight. But in the meantime, we're having a bit more technical difficulty, so we're going to take it to a quick break, just going back and forth on it, and we're really keeping you waiting, so we're going to go to a quick break, and after that, we'll be getting right back into it with MRG Amethyst and Valentine. I promise. Short break, right back. We'll see you then. Surprise! We lulled you into a false sense of security. We went to break and immediately got the message that the teams were ready. So, well, we're back in it. And I told you it was going to be a quick break. And it sure was quicker than I even thought.
The actual lead-in to the break was longer than the break itself, which is unfortunate. Just how it goes, I guess. We're going to be seeing, I guess, I mean, Vexus seems to like the Diva. I would be surprised if Imihai stuck on the Life Weaver. I feel like that is not the kind of pick you want to start off on. There's the Lucio going to be coming out. Half of the TP, but actually don't use it from Valentine. Murray going to be sticking on the Symmetry just to come out of doorway. But as Neko goes over to the Echo, it's actually free spam for MRG Amethyst, who Valentine might struggle to poke out.
Ooh, the charge. Kindred is going in on the Reinhardt. Gonna get the VMAC onto the Diva and run right over MRG Amethyst. Get the Kiriko as well. Not even getting them into the wall. Just stalling them out for a bit longer. Nearly hitting the Fire Strike on the Echo. And Valentine are rolling right through.
Valentine's composition is highly reliant on just being able to brawl super heavily, but Zoe on this Echo is going to be able to match Neko a little bit easier. We are looking at Sophie in particular to be poking out this Echo so that Neko can be able to find some kind of angle pressure onto Valentine. As MRG Amethyst up for this rotation, it's just a free TP for Kindred.
Kindred not able to get any charge, but the Shatter is going to land on top 5. And it's curtains for MRG Amethyst. Neko is going to land the Focus Beam kill onto Kindred, but it will be small potatoes.
Yeah, and Veronica will be there to speed the Reinhardt back as well, so Valentine are going to be comfortable setting up. They've got the TP from Mari if they really need to get Kindred back in time, but I would imagine MRG Amethyst are going to be slow to be able to return to the point themselves. Again, we're looking at them trying to take some kind of pressure here, but as Sophie goes off the Cassidy over onto the Sojourn instead, the actual burst potential for you to be able to poke out Zoe is significantly decreased now, and honestly, I can only see this going in Valentine's favor.
Yeah, very much going in Valentine's favor. Vaxis on the Diva. Really nothing to negate that Shatter from Kindred, which she's charging so incredibly quickly. Sophie's going to get taken down by the Echo Sticky Bombs. And now Vaxis in a bit of trouble, going to get DMAC'd. The beat coming out from Wicca very quickly, but that's just another roll through for Valentine.
That was a really nice play around the TP there from Valentine. Kindred starts getting pressured out a little bit too much, just takes the TP restores a little bit of health, goes back to Kuna further away, then TP's back in again once they're safe. The back TP hits the pin, doesn't catch, but oh, Seabuddy just throwing in the rush in an act of desperation. It's already too late. Is it?
Vaxis said, knockback nerfs? I didn't hear that, as Kindred's gonna go off the edge. Oh, nearly a point cap. Emerging Amethyst gonna land the point cap, and they're gonna start ticking up. Vaxis gonna throw the bomb right into the center of Valentine, looking to scatter them to the winds, and will achieve that. Momehi, though, gonna get taken down. The Lucio 1v1, honorably won by Wicca. Vaxis takes out Mari in the baby form, but it won't be enough to stay the tide of Valentine, as there goes the Kiriko TP, a shatter onto not much, and Kindred, Optimus Prime.
Hits the marshmallow.
Taking it.
I like it. You gotta it hits the roasted marshmallow at the end, and just to shatter a wall. I like that. You know, that's the Giga Chad play that you need from a Reinhardt.
Yeah.
I don't entirely hate what Emoji are trying to run here. It's just a little bit too slow into what Valentine are doing. With both the Lucio speed and the Symmetra TP alongside Echo in particular, you've got a lot of spam alongside a lot of beam damage that is going to be really difficult for the D.Va to be able to mitigate once Amethyst get into close range. But Valentine have all the tools they need to be able to close the distance incredibly quickly, whilst Amethyst don't have a huge poke advantage anymore. I think if we were seeing Sophie on something like the Ashe, maybe we'd be able to poke Kindred out a little bit more effectively. As we now see Sophie go over to the casting, Neko hovers the Pharah. I would have really liked that, but decides to stick on the Echo actually as Vaxis. Rolling out of the Ramattra this time. This gives them better brawl potential, but you still got to deal with the speedy rotations of Valentine.
Yeah, and also just the absolute clownery of Kindred on Valentine. Gonna go in a bit too deep there. Gonna get the fist from Vaxis, but it's just too much. That brawl was so quick, that charge kill. I mean, Kindred got her one. Now there goes the Nemesis form. Mari in a bit of trouble, gets booped forward, and a great play by Wamehi, I believe, taking Mari forward, and Valentine are starting to struggle here. MRG Amethyst pushing forward. That Ravenous Vortex going right into the shield of a Reinhardt. Not gonna slow them down the way they might want. Kindred's shield pretty low. Now Vaxis pops the Nemesis form and starts to go right in onto the backline. Wamehi a bit low. Gonna get taken down by the Reinhardt. And Vaxis can't find much with the Nemesis form. Now here comes Kindred again, back from their original death from feeding, and now she's back to feed a little more and just get all the kills.
I think this was a really nice play from MOG Amethysts overall. They had a really nice response. Vaxis just backing up, playing around that lower room. Even though Mari builds up a high beam, the Ramattra just playing around cooldowns means the Sim can't find an easy kill. The problem is that MOG Amethysts split. Vaxis goes back in onto the objective, but there's no one there to be able to try and back them up. Weemihai goes in with the ram as everyone else turns around, and it's just the start of the spawn camp at this point. I appreciate it. It's just all
shadow. That's dirty.
They're just throwing in the annihilation there, basically for nothing. You're trying to sustain through, but it gets blocked out entirely by a Rhine shield. That was your big ultimate. Realistically, Seabuddy's Kitsune Rush has to break a spawn hold. That's a difficult ask, and still, the staggers are coming through. Amethyst needs to get a clean reset.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're gonna be able to as the copy comes through, as the beat comes through. Valentine are putting everything into touching the spawn doors on Antarctic. That's something you almost never see, especially this map. Now they're gonna have to start pulling back. There goes the Nemesis form from Vaxis. They're gonna get cut off with the sim wall, and the beat has to come out, but it's only there for two people. Kitsune Rush can't provide them much comfort. Wamehi's gonna go down to Zoe, getting pick upon pick, and Neko gonna get run down in the streets of the Antarctic. And that's going to be a decisively Valentine map with some MRG highlights, but Valentine's the name at the end.
I think there was definitely some potential when Vaxis went over to the Ramattra. I think if the team's just a little bit more on the same page and counting it through when they want to engage in, they maybe are able to flip that control point for just a little bit on sub-level, but I think ultimately in the face of it, Valentine look incredibly comfortable right now, and as they should, realistically. You would not expect this team to be struggling into MRG Amethyst, so seeing what they're able to put forward and the level of strength that they are coming out with, it's going to be difficult for MRG Amethyst to find their feet going into their second map. It is now their choice of whatever they want from a hybrid, so there's a little bit more leeway for them to work with. It's just a matter of what do you actually go to here if you want to make yourself comfortable whilst Valentine aren't. We saw a little bit of the Diva comp, didn't go fantastic. We saw a little bit of the Ram comp. There was moments of hope. What do you really try at this point? There's not that many tanks that you're going to be able to flex to that are going to give you much more of a safer angle into a Reinhardt TP than those two.
Yeah, and I think that for MRG Amethyst, the question might just be, what do you feel most comfortable on? What do you think that you can play the best? Forget Valentine, forget what they play well. At this point, it might just have to be you play your game, they play theirs. Our map pool for hybrid, of course, being Eichenwald, Kings Row, Midtown, Hollywood. So you have a fair amount of good high ground maps for maybe that Diva play if you wanted to pick your Eichenwald, potentially your Hollywood. Maybe just try and play for high ground control, play for the dive, that sort of Diva comp we were seeing. Or you could play the fun map and play Kings Row and just say, let's play Ramatra, let's have some kind of fun with this, and maybe we will have to just suffer with the Kindred Reinhardt, but we will suffer as I have playing the Ramatra. Maybe that's what they have to do, is just play their own game.
I feel like after what you've just experienced going into Rhine Sim TP rotations like that, even if you want to play your own game, I feel like there's an element of don't want to go to Kings Row. It's maybe the safer option in general. I think that if you're looking at Hollywood in particular, that is a map that historically, even at the highest level, you've been able to get away with some kind of cheesy Mercer compositions on. I don't necessarily think it's the best, but if you're wanting to look at like an Ashe Mercy Diva, if that's something that you're genuinely considering, I feel like Hollywood is your best choice for that. I don't necessarily think that Valentine are going to struggle with recognizing it and dealing with it, but it did just feel like Sophie was struggling to find the kind of poke spam that your hit scan needs to be finding, and with Cass having that 5 meter like fall off reduction in the way that his damage works now, Sojourn not really being able to do anything at all with Rail Shot, I think that there's an element of we need to start looking towards an Ashe composition if we want to be able to run things like the Diva, and I think Hollywood gives you a really good option to be able to do that. Ashe having that coach gun is kind of counter dive. You would probably be expecting Valentine to roll it on a Winston, and if they roll it on the Rhine TPs, just leave. Simply play a mobile backline and leave, right? You're going to TP onto a Mercy who's just going to be able to glide away. That's at least one thing that she has going for her. She's going to be able to escape. So I think there's options here if you really wanted to look at it this way and try and play your own game. But yeah, it's going to be difficult for MRG Amethysts, I think, to find a map that Valentine will be uncomfortable on. And if they're able to even find a map that they can look somewhat good on, I think that's going to be a win. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, I don't like this, I'll be honest.
That's it, MRG. No beta. We die like men.
Okay. This is
Don't look at the attack respawn. Look at Valentine. You got the Pharah, you got the Reinhardt.
Veronica?
The Tracer, not exactly the mainstay of a lot of this composition, but hey, I'm interested. No Mercy Tether on the Pharah, but hey.
I mean,
there's not a lot of long range healing for Wicca.
I think the most important thing to note, Kindred is on Illari, Kuna is on Reinhardt, and Wicca is on the Pharah. Mari on a Baptiste, we've got both of our tank players in on support. Only Zoe is main rolling. Okay, fine. Fair enough. MRG Amethyst rolling out on a Malga Venture Pharah composition. We should have looked at the attacker spawn, because that's what they're going for, and Kuna's already half.
This is going to be interesting. The Tracer already having to back up from this Malga. Had those big buffs come in. So maybe the Mal gets the play as Kuna's gonna find one with that Fire Strike and just charging in, but Kuna getting taken out. This is an even 4v4. Well, it was an even 4v4. Great pick from Vax as both bars going down, but with closer spawns, MRG Amethyst might have a chance to get this second fight.
A little stagger on the Weemy High means that, honestly, I would be a little bit surprised you need your Lucio back relatively quick if you want to be able to try and make this work. Valentine don't have one of their all, so their rotation will be a little bit slow, but playing this kind of poke backline that they are, they're not going to be scared to just give a little bit of space and continue to poke in, as we can see. Vax is now coming back, playing around Statue, already pressuring out Kuna, but you've got to really watch this Cardiac Overdrive.
You have to, because that Cardiac Overdrive has been buffed really hard. Mari going very low, and is going to get taken out by Neko on the Pharah. This is the biggest opportunity we've seen for MRG Amethyst all match so far to start moving in. Not a lot of heals for the rest of this team. There goes the Kitsune Rush. The rapid fire rockets are going to come out from Neko very quickly, looking to find Wicca. Gonna escape very quickly, and oh, the one clip out of Zoe. Echo's gonna go down, Kindred coming back in with the Captive Sun. Burst down is Sophie, and what seemed like a great opportunity will be 50% and a touch more now for MRG Amethyst. They're gonna come out on top. The barrage just goes right in, but Weemy High will not let that pass. Won't let that play happen. Weemy High, though, gonna get taken down. Kuna charging right back in. Zoe has the Pulse Bomb, might be looking to stick it on some stragglers, but the Ray transfer, dirty and disgusting, out of Zoe, and now just roaming through the backlines, roaming through the spawn doors, and the stick onto the Malka is so BM, because it's just a bit of an inconvenience. Cage fight out. It's just the Kiriko. She's hiding That's not Kiriko, that's the Yari hiding behind the trash can. Charges back in. And what goofiness, what shenanigans, what chicanery. Wicca's gonna go down. Oh goodness, barrage from Neko landing onto Kuna. And you have the fight win for MRG in the silliest and the goofiest way possible. Oh goodness, I need to lie down.
This is Valentine, where Zoe is doing literally everything that she can to try and make sure that the other 4 members don't hard feed every single fight. The barrage from Veronica, that was definitely something that that's something I would do. That's a me barrage, I won't lie. It looks like we were coaching each other on that one in particular, but now MRG Amethyst's having a little bit more control over streets actually does put them in good position to deny another spawn camp chokehold from Kuna, setting up on this Reinhardt, and we've got the rush here to be able to throw it in and just keep the pressure on.
Yeah, and Axis is gonna take full advantage. Sophie a bit low, nearly gets Kindred. Gonna get the trade. Kindred and Sophie going down, but you take that trade, trading your hit scan for their support who's in your backline on some silly little feed. But Axis is gonna go down, and this is devastating for Kuna and for MRG Amethyst, as Zoe just gonna clean up the stragglers. Zoe just doing everything this round.
Honestly, I really liked what Neko's been doing on the Pharah, and I feel like they've been getting good value from it. Sophie as well, looking to get a little bit of poke in. I like what MRG Amethyst are able to put forward at the moment, and I think if Neko just spends a little bit more time marking Zoe, who's kind of been allowed to just go for free, this Pharah is still going to be able to get all the range that they're looking for, whilst also pressuring out the main carry for Valentine right now. I think there's a realistic opportunity for MRG Amethyst to start winning those fights.
MRG Amethyst able to wait out one of these 5 ultimates that Valentine's bringing, but not all of them. Weemy just punched an ulting Pharah. What an absolutely insane move from the Lucio. Going up to a Pharah, dishing out 1 billion damage per second, and just delivering the right hook like you're Mike Tyson. What in the universe is this?
I mean, you gotta get a little jiggy with it, right? It's a little bit of a silly time. You gotta get silly with it too. Zoe setting up fully on the back line, does get spotted out, setting up this pulse bomb, nevertheless, has to use blinks to get away. So, safe for now. Kuna!
Kuna doing? Kuna on the Reinhardt. Kuna's walking in, and charge.
Oh, okay.
I get
That's
flashes back to Bumper from old 2019 Overwatch League. Just feeding his brains out. Kindred's gonna get the pick on the Queenie high. Oh, Neko will take down Kuda in the end and MRG Amethyst. They're gonna dish out a lot of ults for this fight, but they are getting the advantage of it. Neko goes down. Oh, Vax finds the pick onto Zoe. That's the terrifying Tracer stop. So it looks like there might be a bit of hope now as Wicca in a bit of trouble, gonna regenerate some HP. But here comes the Lucio from the top ropes. Oh, I love this. I love this so much. Kindred and Weenie High will take themselves out, but so will Wicca, so it is a 3v4 for MRG Amethyst. They have the advantage looking to get into Point Charlie. Zoe's gonna go down, says again the Tracer lost. Mari uses that window very selfishly. Cardiac Overdrive popped and the beat. Vaxis can't die squared here. As the cart's starting to move even more forward between these two teams. Oh, Vax is gonna get Kuna a bit low. Kuna charging up to the Shatter, only 10% away from it. Just needs one good Fire Strike to get a big one. Can they survive through it though? Gonna go very low. Throws out the Shatter, is gonna get taken down. It's a massive pick out of MRG Amethyst, and they're moving through Deadeye from the Cassidy, gonna take down Wicca. And MRG Amethyst, Valentine might be off rolling and feeding, but you best believe that MRG are here to play.
I really like that play from Veronica. Boop the Casty into range so that you get hit by the Deadeye despite having cover that you could just walk behind. That's phenomenal. That's my Pharah player right there. Valentine now going over towards the Roadhog. Kuna is doing the funny angle, but is immediately getting bullied by Vaxis. Barrage yet again. That's another barrage from Veronica. And it goes how you can predict. We trade back 1-2. There's the cage, but this looks really comfortable for MRG Amethyst at this point. Like I said, if there was anything Valentine had to be scared of, it would be getting too silly with it. And I think as Veronica goes over to the Reaper, I think that may be what's happening.
I think we might be beyond too silly. Neko, though, gonna get burst down, going a bit too greedy on the Baptiste. And now you got high ground control for Valentine. Wicca, though, gonna be absolutely shredding through the Malga of Vaxis, and we didn't even notice Kuna going on to the Malga, matching that tank. And now we have Vaxis switching back onto the Diva. No, Vaxis, you're playing the funny Malga.
I kind of don't hate this if you just want to be able to like fully defense Matrix Malga's Cardiac Overdrive. The Matrix actually lasts longer than the Overdrive now, so that you do have the option, and an early beat from Kindred. There's only 7 seconds left, but it gives Neko the opportunity for Barrage.
Ooh, and the barrage is going to be absolutely massive out of Neko, but it might just not be massive enough, as Neko going to have to just tumble onto the point. A respectable push out of Valentine. 55 meters into Point Charlie is nothing to sneeze at, but oh boy, my sides hurt from laughing so much, Willow. That was not just a clown fest. I think we just saw an entire circus fest. I feel like I just went to the county fair.
The car door opened and they just kept coming out. Just one clown after another, kept going, kept going. 4 minutes straight, there's still clowns coming out of that car. Valentine, for their attack now, I mean, it honestly wasn't a bad push from MRG Amethyst. Getting halfway through third point is somewhat achievable. It's usually the case that you see either both teams full cap on Kings, or one of them gets it almost to third, and then the other one's pushing to that same point in overtime. But I think in a disparity like this, I would be a little bit surprised, to be frank, if I didn't see Valentine very quickly getting through first and second. I think what MRG Amethyst were trying to do there worked really well on occasion, and in general they had really nice play around their ultimates and recognizing their own tempo. I think it's just a matter of cooldown discipline, understanding when they want to be using things like the Cardiac Overdrive to engage in, things like the Kitsune Rush as well. Kind of felt like they were just thrown into some fights. I think if MRG Amethyst have just a little bit more understanding of which fights they really want to take and when they want to take them, they make that look really convincing. We probably see a 3rd-point push there. Valentine, they got a little silly with it, but also with them off-rolling, we saw a few ults just kind of go by the wayside. That was definitely punishable. So now, with Valentine basically starting on the same comp, but Kindred on Lifeweaver, I think there's opportunity here for Amethyst.
Kindred trying to do just every single Reinhardt charge deck that's ever existed. Oh, we need a high, just barely staying alive through that. Vax is gonna go down to sticky bombs, and that's not good for the defense of MRG Amethyst. As that's the thing with taking the scrap fights, you can do it when your spawns are closer, but you have to be convincing when you got the long trek back.
Yeah, and honestly, in spite of how silly that the little petal charge thing is, MRG Amethyst aren't going to be used to this. They panic a little bit, throw in their cooldowns, and it's just a free pick for Zoe.
It absolutely is. Vax is going to go get demeched immediately. The beam damage just can't be saved by the defense matrix. It's it. It's Valentine taking that first point relatively quickly.
Yeah, I don't hate the recontest there either. Into what Valentine are running, you're mostly looking for poke, but in that last second opportunity, you don't really have time to do so. So all you can really do is try and burn down the time bank a little bit. You wouldn't be playing for archway control anyway through here, so I'm not entirely loathing what was going on there. I am just a little bit scared that now all the space Valentine have been given, they're going to be able to do even more silly things with it, as we can see Kuna setting up on the high ground as Zoe and Wicker do a fantastic job of being distractions. Oh no! Okay, we see the right art. Kuna gets spotted out.
It does get spotted out. Kuna wasn't even close to Shatter there, which is what interested me. You know, you see that sort of bumper style play when you have the Shatter hiding up in the rafters as Immortality Field is going to be burned, as is the Kiriko E. It's just not enough. The copy onto Baptiste. Zoe taking the high ground and taking back everything. I love this. I love this. I love this so much.
A little bit of window poke opportunity there. Goes a little bit by the wayside. Pulled a little bit too early and Amethyst a little bit too slow to come back. But there's another pedal grip.
And the Shatter!
It's nothing!
Well, Willow, analyze that play. Give me the analysis of that play. Diva Bomb's gonna go right into the back line. Oh, Wick is gonna go down. They're fighting all the way
keep it as a pet.
here.
Keep the life weaver as a
We're
pet.
gonna take out the Reinhardt.
That was actually a really good staggered opportunity on Kindred. It means that you wouldn't have been able to have
What
like
is Kuna doing?
Oh my god, the Reinhardt's back on the flank again. Oh boy, I'm trying to stay. Okay, that
Hey,
was 5
Sophie.
ults from Valentine
Hey,
at
Sophie.
least. Now Zoe going over onto the casting too. It's opportunity for MRG Amethyst to hold this for a little while. It's a 3-minute time bank, but they've got something to work with.
Oh my gosh, that was a Metal Gear for Kuna, just trying to avoid the guard that is Sophie. The double Cassidy gonna come out. It's so high noon. It's high noon squared for him.
We pulled the other one, right? We pull both Deadeyes? We're just gonna fully zone? Yeah? We don't use it! No!
Everybody's gonna go down, even 4v4 for MRG, but they have no ults to use, and they're just gonna get run over by Valentine. This composition's so good in the neutral.
It's good in the neutral, but it's also just a matter of if you're able to
did not
keep...
try the rollout.
If you're able to keep the pace as high as Valentine are keeping it, It's really difficult for Amethyst to be able to find their footing and feel like they're ever comfortable going into this. A nice early pick on Tamari means both the backline from Valentine are dead. Window no longer on the table. Vaxis has the opportunity to keep the pressure on here. Just don't get too distracted by Kindred.
I mean, they'll take out Kindred, they'll force Valentine back. Mari in the chat, wait, that character does so much damage. WTF? Yeah, he got the bomb ready for Vaxis. Really trying to take control of this high ground. I love that for MRG and this. As now, there goes the Kitsune Rush from C Bunny. Kuna's gonna land the point blank shatter onto Sophie, but taken down by the focus beam. Oh, the headshot from Zoe. Valentine looking very dangerous. Bomb into the backline. Oh, Zoe doesn't get the roll away. Gonna get taken out by the bomb. Sophie switches on to the Widowmaker. Gonna take out Kindred.
Only 5 meters.
But there's only a few meters. Can they get anything? Sophie lands the headshot on Tamari. An incredible swap to Widowmaker and taking out 2. But they need to stay on this point. It's dangerous. Kuna gonna go down. And so they've staved off destruction for now, but they got 2.5 minutes that they need to keep going.
2.5 minutes? Just a little, now 2.5 meters. It was there for a second as I said it. Just for Valentine to be full held here. MRG Amethyst are going to have a really difficult time. I liked the bomb from Vaxis, and if they can keep rotating ultimates like that now, there's the opportunity, but why are we going all the way in? Oh, this diva!
I like it. I like the aggressive diva. Wicca's gonna go down. Sophie hits the headshot during the cast time of the beat. Kuna taking so much damage. Valentine go down. But when Weenie High and Sophie both gone. Neko with the copy Reinhardt. Can they get to the shatter in time? No, they can't. Still onto the Echo, looking for the stagger onto Kindred, but Kindred's gonna find C Bunny instead. Can't even take out Zoe in time. Any pick that they get is just immediately answered by Valentine as the cards are gonna start rolling out. The Sojourn having to touch in the end. A valiant fight. A valiant effort. But in the end, Valentine does come out on top. It was quite the shenanigan fest. Quite the silly, goofy, quite the clown show, in fact. But I think that you saw some incredible action from MRG that entire time.
And you get the Vaxis player of the game as well. There's a Veronica beat. One for the ages, and then the cage into the small room, just traps, and manages to find out the Roadhog too. This was honestly a really nice play, and one of those moments where MRG Amethyst looked like they were really able to take it to this roster. Valentine, maybe they were off-rolling, maybe there was some shenanigans, maybe they got a little silly with it, okay? But nevertheless, when you're playing against players of that caliber, even when they're off-rolling, the mechanics transfer through. The practice of being in a coordinated environment and being in tournaments and being in scrims carries through. It's not like Valentine have no idea what they're meant to be doing unless all of them are deafening themselves anytime a coach gives feedback on each other's play. They're going to have some semblance of, even heroes that they're very unfamiliar with, how to approach those fights, and they got a little silly with it, yeah. But there were definitely times where it looked like they were getting a little bit pushed in those fights, where they were realizing, oh, I did something stupid, and I got immediately punished for it. Maybe we've got to dial it back in a little bit. Zoe, stony-faced, completely serious, as we were hoping from this region, and as we're used to from them. But nevertheless, that's what it takes sometimes to be able to turn this around. Maybe we're looking at this and we're saying, if Zoe isn't fully locked in for this entire map, are we seeing a 1-1 right now? Is there the potential that Valentine get a little bit too lost in the sauce and we're not going to be closing up the series quite this early? I think there's the potential for it. MG Amethyst actually looked really good. I am earnestly impressed with what they were able to do here on King's Row. And I can see why they wanted to go to that map. They just looked pretty comfortable on it. So even though it's a 2-0, and even though, yeah, it was realistically pretty one-sided, I don't think you're going to be unhappy with a result like that from MRG Amethysts. This was always going to be stacked against you. So being able to put up a decent showing on broadcast in particular, yeah, I'd take that.
Completely. And as well, one thing I talked about at the start was reframing what success is. To an extent, as much as you want to come into a match going, we are going to do our best, we are going to win this, you had to know that these guys were going to be difficult, that you probably weren't going to win. But I think that we saw what I talked about with moments of success from each of these players. We saw really incredible play, really smart heads up play from, I think, everyone on this roster. I mean, you talk about even on Antarctic Peninsula, Weemy High getting some really good plays of displacing Mari on the Symmetra and getting a pick off of that. I have seen stomps. This is not the worst stomp I have seen by a mile. You had incredibly smart plays, incredibly good plays from a lot of these players, from a lot of these teams. And I think that you have to be proud of that for MRG Amethyst, that you were able to show that you do have some skill in you. Because when you play a team that has your number a bit, that is just has more name recognition, that has a bit more of the game knowledge and a bit of more skill than you, you feel like nothing you do matters. But you saw so much smarts coming out from MRG Amethyst there. So I think you have to be proud.
Yeah. I know, I genuinely think they did a really good job, and honestly, when you look at just the sheer name value and roster weight of Valentine, and you go to a map like King's Row, you are kind of expecting a full hold. You're not expecting a team to get through first point, playing into a roster like that, and even then, you're not expecting them to get through second either. Streets phase is notoriously difficult to attack, especially when you're playing into a brawl composition. Even if it's Kuna on the Reinhardt, you know, it was a little silly, but it wasn't like it was atrocious or anything. So, being able to get all the way through third, basically towards the end of that, that's a really good showing from MRG Amethysts, and like you say, I think they can hold their heads high coming away from this one. I think that we got to set up for our next match, though. Rein ourselves back in a little bit, take us back down. Serious business. Suits on, ties.
Serious.
Slicked back hair, okay? We're going into the stock market here. Serious business only. We'll be back in a little bit. We're going to take a short break. We'll catch you afterwards.
welcome back to the most serious stream on Twitch, the Kunoichi Krush, where we're going to have only the most serious of teams, the most serious of plays, and the most serious of players. This time, for real. We have our two teams, MRG Amethysts. You know them, you love them. We saw them struggle against a team that is a mainstay of Calling All Heroes, of Kunoichi in Valentine, and now moving on to a team that's hopefully at their level. I mean, I haven't looked at the lower third, so I don't know who it is. Well, if you were here for the start of the stream and you heard the points we made about MRG Amethyst versus Valentine, what she said, what K-Wing from the past said, but again,
there's not too much that we can do to differently introduce this, I'm afraid. It's Green Fortnite. It is essentially the Timeless Core. That's Senna, Bun, Scuffed, Alisu, and Velvet actually going to be coming in on main support. I believe it was Halo also mentioned on the team sheet. So, all kinds of opportunities here for this roster going in. I'm going to be real with you. This is an even stronger team than I would honestly expect from Valentine. Maybe with a couple of subs in, a couple of people that maybe you don't see on the main roster. They're perhaps not at full strength, but honestly, in this meta where you've got Cenobun and Alisu on a team making up the core, I think you're going to be in really good standing. I don't think you're going to be struggling all that much whatsoever. Green Fortnite have themselves been a mainstay of kind of coming in as these kind of slightly mixed up timeless cores into the Kunoichi tournaments. They're relatively experienced as well in the EU section. It was actually last time we saw them, they lost to the EU Chengdu Drainers. I know in particular that HQ was very happy about that, but also a little bit disappointed because Z wasn't on this roster for Green Fortnite. Again, we're seeing Green Fortnite perhaps not at their potential full strength coming through. But I would not be surprised to see them doing phenomenally still, regardless. And once again, we've got our potential underdogs. The team that is really going through the ringer on broadcast at the moment, but, we saw them have a little bit of hope in the previous series. It's MRG Amethysts.
Yeah, and I think that what you said is completely true. We saw really great plays from all of this roster. We saw Mimihai on the Lucio just placing Mari. We saw some incredible Widow play, I would say, from Sophie. Like, not even qualified with, but they weren't at full power. There were still some incredible headshots coming out of Sophie near the end of that King's Row round. We have Neko showing the Genji. I don't think we've seen any Genji from her so far, but hey, there's always a first time. And we had Vaxis doing pretty solid on the Mauga. We saw the play of the game from her perspective, just face tanking a barrage near the end of that King's Row in the cage fight. So this isn't, again, I feel like I'm a broken record. This isn't a team without talent. This isn't a team without ability. It's just that they are going up against very, very good teams. These are incredible teams. And I feel like I'm watching the Olympics. Like, even the team players that are, they're still incredibly good players. They're still players that are playing at the top of their game. It's just, there is such a difference.
When you're playing against people who are mainstays of the top of, like, the marginalized gender circuit, it's always going to look difficult no matter whereabouts you are sitting. And honestly, as good as MRG Amethyst have been doing is always going to be impressive. Going to be starting out on this D.Va composition again. I like this. Sophie starting out on the Ashe. This wasn't something we saw in the previous series. And I think this is probably the composition that they want to start going towards if they're going to start running things like this. Valentine with Alistair on the Wrecking Ball. It's going to be very early pressure onto MRG Amethyst, but they have to get baited not to use cooldowns too early into this high disruption composition.
Yeah, and it was the question we asked at the start of last game is, how do you deal with a Wrecking Ball? How do you make it stop? How do you just get it out of there? As already the DMAC comes through from Max's Bun on this Ashe of their own. It's a solid play here for Green Fortnite. Mind you, pay no attention to the Valentine in the top left corner.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really strong start for them. You wouldn't expect any differently. Bun looking for a little bit of early poke onto this Echo Lucio, but Weemihai is there to make sure that any damage that comes through is mitigated actionally. See, but he gets a little bit low, but it's ultimately fine as Valentine... no, Green Fortnite, I got baited. Just going to be setting up around the point. They're going to wait for this D.Va to be able to engage in and then try and slam in on the backline. Or if MLG Amethyst go to the point, just play around poke on the high ground. They know that Bun has the advantage doing so, and already an early pick onto Neko is it's just distraction from the Wrecking Ball.
It really is, and at this point, Green Fortnite not showing any willingness to play goofy, to play silly. They are here to win. They are here to win fast.
Win fast, I mean, it looks pretty confident. Already 50% on the control point. MRG Amethysts have made a bit of a swap, Sophie going off the Ashe onto the Casty now, but it means that you're resetting all that ult charge that you'd previously built back to about 30%, so you're probably not winning this fight either as you're going into a Bob and Mines.
Yeah, and Sophie just gonna get taken down. Santa running rampant in the back line. That's 3 picks for her, and there you go. Senna is gonna land 4, and the team kill gonna ring out, and a spawn door touch, or a bit of a wave from from Ilsu on the Wrecking Ball. It's a little bit of a high.
Scuffed has this Captive Sun ready to deploy. It's the only ultimate that Green Fortnite actually have available to them, so there is the opportunity here for them to be able to just rip it really early and have Vaxis eat it, but the Kitsune Rush and the Sound Barrier have to come out eventually, already 90%, and it kind of looks like MRG Amethyst are just letting this one go entirely by the wayside, just didn't want to go too fast and didn't pull any ultimates for it.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be Green Fortnite on top, as there we go, we finally got it in the end. Wonderful thank you to our producer, Camcom, running everything behind the scenes. But Green Fortnite, UK drill version, just making sure that we're
UK
saying that
drill
full
version.
name
Yeah.
just for a little bit. They've so far had this quite well under control, and they're not really, they saw the mistakes of Valentine. They saw them get lost in the sauce of the goofiness, and they're here. They've taken the lesson from Stream. They're serious business. They're ready to walk into Wall Street.
And you can understand why MRG Amethyst is struggling playing this D.Va. The Wrecking Ball is looking to just disrupt, whereas the D.Va is looking to counter-dive. You can't easily counter-dive the Wrecking Ball because what you're really looking for is Senna on the Tracer, but Bun having the angle pressure as well, it's all just a little bit too much, and again, early picks, not quite going to find the Jungle Queen, but the damage is too much, just lay it in, and a little bit of cleanup here is all that it's going to take for MRG Amethyst to finally fall. Going over to this Jungle Queen composition I don't think is a bad move for them, but if they're going to do this, they have to find a target and just run on them. Green Fortnite, UK drill version, do not have a fast backline. Baptiste Lowry are highly immobile. But the problem is, if you collapse on top of them, then it just gives Alisu and Senna the opportunity to collapse on top of you as well. Bun can either be sat with the supports or on a different angle that you've got to clear out first. It's a really difficult fight plan for the Amethyst to have to try and deal with, and going back over to the D.Va, I don't dislike. You just have to recognize why it didn't work to actually make any kind of change.
Yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22 if you try and dive in on the backline as they look to do. It just means the Wrecking Ball is going to run right over top of you, as now Senna free to run rampant in the backline. They're going to catch 3 again. We've seen some incredible Tracer play. I think that's just, we've seen that the entire day.
I think Amethysts, in terms of the composition they're running, a full dive would be better, a full brawl would be better, but this kind of like half and half it's not going to do them any favors, and I don't see Green Fortnite really struggling here, as we can see. Just more free ult charge for Bun, already 90% towards a Bob. Same across the board for Green Fortnite, as the Captive Sun gets pulled first.
Yeah, there goes the Captive Sun, not going to be eaten up by the Defense Matrix. No, I believe it might have gotten eaten by Defense Matrix.
No.
But either way, Green Fortnite not going to really care too much as the D.Va. Not even waiting for the stagger. Green Fortnite not even giving them the silliness of that.
We've seen from Vexus now on a few occasions that the D.Va gets a little bit impatient and tries to go in, and it's led to every single time, even in the previous series, they just look at the backline and get a free Captive Sun, free Dynamite, free Tracer, whatever. That just needs to recognize when to chill a little bit more. Otherwise,
Senna.
those opportunities to eat, you're just going to have them go right by the wayside. 85% in building. It's a fast reset for the Amethyst,
Senna.
but it's their last chance on Oasis.
Oh, that's a bit sad there for Senna, nearly getting the ace, but is denied as they're not able to jump to the Genji in time. But it is Green Fortnite taking a decisive victory there. I believe 200-0 as well. So UK drill version of Green Fortnite, Senna as well, really just going wild. I mean, just jumping through, demecking the D.Va. We'll call that a pseudo ace. You got the D.Va demec. That basically counts for one. We're gonna call it. We're gonna allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5 entries in the kill feed, and if you think I'm wrong about it, fight me.
I was a little bit nervous there. Honestly, when you led with I was like, where are we going with this? But no, we're fine. Green Fortnite setting up for second map now, as MRG Amethyst's gonna be the one that choose it. I'm a little bit... I mean, I would have liked to see Gardens, I'll be honest, or City Center rather. I would have liked to see what happens if MRG Amethyst go to like a full dive map a little bit differently. I think if you're able to commit onto a Winston here, it's going to look pretty decent, but I don't know, it looks like Vaxis is still just very comfortable to be running things like the D.Va. I think if you're going to be going over to a Brawl map instead, just run the Malga back again, maybe get some Ramatra going, that's where you can maybe go to something like King's Row, but frankly, what Green Fortnite are doing here is just playing a really high-tempo composition that, regardless of where you go or what you play, if you're just not able to respond to it quickly, clear up the angles like you know you need to, check each corner, right, play to just force people out and be that one step ahead that you need to when the game is this quick, it's just going to be a very quick, I think, full hold here on King's Row, which will be our second map again. I can understand why MRG Amethyst wants to go to Kings again, but I don't think that we're going to see Green Fortnite UK Drill version struggle perhaps nearly as much as we saw Valentine do so. This looks like a team that's here just for 100% seriousness, no off-rolling, no silly here. It is serious business stock market over here in EU now on. So, yeah, I'm not fully... I don't hate this. You did decently last time. I'm just not hopeful for it either.
I mean, you're gonna have a bit of struggle. You're gonna have a bit of tough for MRG Amethyst going on to King's Row. I mean, you saw just how good that Wrecking Ball was, just how unstoppable it looked, and especially considering Green Fortnite aren't willing to get down and get silly with it, I have to agree with you there that we might not see too much out of MRG Amethyst. They are getting smothered here with that Wrecking Ball composition, with the DPS of Green Fortnite. We'll have to see if maybe Green Fortnite is able to loosen up and we can see some cool little MRG highlights.
I think as well, though, going over to King's Road does give the opportunity for Green Fortnite to run something brawlier if they really wanted to. I think this Wrecking Ball is always going to be comfortable for Alisu, so I don't think there's ever going to be a reason why you'd want to swap away. But we've also seen Senna and Bun play things like the Double Flex DPS. We know that Bun is probably the best Mei player in the marginalized gender circuit, and while she's not great right now, into teams like this, around this elo, where you don't have to worry about getting poked out by things like a uber competent Pharah, it is a possibility that on these brawlier heavy maps, you can go for something like that. We're going to see Bun actually starting out on the Symmetra, which for a defender's side is really interesting here. We can see the turrets kind of getting set up. It is going to be played into Neko on the Pharah with Weemihai now committing onto the Mercy Pocket, but it means there is very little for this Mauga. Vaxis has to be incredibly disciplined with the Cardiac Overdrive. We're going to find nothing whatsoever. Sophie on the Sojourn as well. The burst potential is entirely on Neko's shoulders here.
Early anti-nade out of Velvet hits both supports. The cleanse has to come out. Vaxis bursts down. And Green Fortnite, just another day at the office. They're just bursting through. Bun and Alisu just taking names.
I think what these turrets from Bun are aiming to do is not only like farm for ult charge, obviously, but also try and slow down what MOG Amethyst are trying to do, contest the angles that Neko's going to want to take alone on the Pharah. Weemihai now going over to the Lucio. I think this is going to do a really good job of just kind of forcing MOG Amethyst to turn around and look, and allow Alisu to get in onto your backline.
And that's exactly what we're seeing, pardon. As Vaxis jumps in, Alisu is just gonna take so much damage right in the backline.
If there's any consolation from all the damage that's been thrown in, Sea Bunny about matching ult charge with most of the members of Green Fortnite, but Senna already has Pulse Bomb online, Alisu 80% towards the minefield. It's going to be a difficult kind of fight for MLG Amethyst to go into, because now they are playing into that ult bank. If they just build up to 5, maybe they can cap first, but the problem is discipline. Yet again, you have to be mindful not to pull the trigger too early, and with only 2.5 minutes, you're only 40% to cage. You've got to start doing some damage before you just get picked off.
And Scuffed is going to take 2. Senna with the Pulse Bomb. They just can barely... They can just stand there, MRG Amethyst. They can barely get a word in edgewise.
Nice to see the respect in chat. Sophie dropping the nice stick for Senna. We're kind of used to it, we're kind of expecting it, but it is, in lobby, always impressive to see someone just land things like that when you feel like you've done a little bit better than them.
Oh, what a combo there onto Sophie. There goes the Nano and the Captive Sun. Neko gonna land one pick. It's the Nano onto Senna. Really gonna dish out the damage onto that Lucio. Chase them down. Weemihai, not long for this world. Ults are building up ever so slowly for MRG.
Ever so slowly, but again, that's kind of the problem. 90 seconds left on the timer, still only 63% towards cage fight. Not too dissimilar for your overclock either, and 80% towards the sound barrier. You're looking for an overtime fight when you've got these ultimates at this point. You could use one to try and build the other 4, but at that point, you're throwing away something like the Barrage or the Kitsune Rush, which you really need in those crucial moments. So MLG Amethyst kind of just have to commit. They opt for the beat first.
Yeah, they're gonna use that beat to get them a bit of space. Same with the Kitsune Rush, but it doesn't land them any picks. In fact, Sophie gonna be the first to fall. There goes, Bun taken down as well. Weemihai gone, and it's both support ults used and 1 tick gained.
A little bit of a stagger onto Vaxis as well, who, off the back of being kept alive, at least is now built up to an ultimate, but you lost both your support ults at the same time. Sophie, still only 90% towards that overclock, and the Sojourn struggling to find the burst damage will probably really struggle to find that last 10% to get onto that overclock when you're playing such a fast mobile composition as Green Fortnite is. 15 seconds left, and it's kind of last desperate attack here for MRG Amethysts, but they've lost the Kiriko early.
Yeah, they lost Sea Bunny. There goes the cage fight and the Barrage combo, but it's only catching Fun. There goes Captive Sun. It's gonna land onto 1. Take out Weemihai. And Scuffed is just gonna take care of the rest. 56% is all that MRG can muster. And Green Fortnite look to take this in dominant fashion.
Yeah, with it not even being 2 ticks, you don't even feel confident with the potential for a staggered fight and recontest here. This is literally just Green Fortnite have to win 1 fight, and when they do that, they win the series. For MLG Amethysts, this is one of those times where you kind of just got to recognize, yeah, we're going to do our best, but maybe time to clock out a little bit. Green Fortnite UK Drill version have been here in full seriousness, as we asked them to do so, which honestly, from teams I always appreciate. I feel like, not that it's BM when you start doing off-rolling and funky stuff, but it feels like you're recognizing your opponent as a genuine competitor when you come out in full force every single time. Run it through as though it's like a proper match, you've really got to try. And we're seeing Green Fortnite, maybe not pushing themselves to the utmost extent as they need to, but they are, approaching this sensibly. They're playing their macro game very cleanly, even recognizing things like the cage fight in the barrage that are likely to come through. They're playing split so that they don't have more members get caught in it than they want to. Bun, who maybe would want to be setting up around the backline, separating entirely from the Ilari and the Baptiste. It's a very greedy backline from Green Fortnite as well. It's not one that you can afford to get caught out. So just in general, this team has been playing really clean. I love the way that they are approaching this in general. And for MRG Amethysts, I don't think you can be unhappy at all, even in spite of the difficulty that you're facing. This is the caliber that you're playing into. And when they come out in full force, this is the expected result.
Yeah, and it's just the skill of Green Fortnite. There's nothing else to it, as you're seeing Senna stick on the Widowmaker just for a little bit longer. They're taking a bit of poke damage, but in the end, looking to still stick on it. A wave high from Alisu before the dive comes in. Kiriko gonna have to swift step away just for a moment, but Alisu has locked onto the Kiriko, and she'll find her pick. Senna takes out Sophie with the headshot, and it's looking dire for MRG. Green Fortnite did not come here to play. They came here to win, and that is exactly what they're going to do, TPing right on top of the Baptiste. Well, the time is going to tick up to 56.5. Victory rings out for Green Fortnite, and MRG can hopefully put this behind them, keeping it in good spirits the entire time. But that was a rough two first games of the round robin series, and that's just how it has to be with a round robin. But we guy in the chat asking if they can have whatever Senna had for lunch, and honestly,
Greek
if
yogurt?
I could get a piece of that too, I would love it.
It's Greek yogurt, apparently, which, yeah, it's pretty good. Nice light lunch. Got some good proteins in there. I like that. Yeah. Green Fortnite, yeah, they just looked incredibly comfortable, very strong, and we're seeing the potential from this Wrecking Ball in the meta right now. Alisu just able to keep up an inordinate amount of pressure at any given moment. Senna there to follow up through as well. Bun kind of showing us a little bit of a different style with the Symmetra, but the Sim able to just kind of get around, put a lot of pressure onto these heroes like the D.Va, who would probably want to not be playing around a beam all the time and slow things down with the turrets. It was, yeah, a really nice little showing from them, and I think it's maybe a sign of things to come in terms of what this meta has to offer. I think Cass now kind of falling away, Ashe kind of coming into their own, Pharah as well, still going strong, but, Tracer always still doing good. I think if Wrecking Ball players are able to kind of ease their way into the highest level of play here, we could have some really interesting kind of styles conflict with one another. I don't feel like it's a hero that you have to pick, but it's a one that's really difficult to deal with.
Incredibly difficult to deal with those nerfs, with those buffs to tanks coming in that patch that everyone loved universally. I think that the reception to that patch was just 100%, 100% positive. But with those big buffs to tanks, with your tank now being even more important, the Wrecking Ball becomes a bit viable in a way that we haven't seen a lot in Overwatch 2. We've seen a lot of different metas in Overwatch 2, but the Wrecking Ball has often felt excluded from such. But finally, getting a bit of a moment in the spotlight in the meta. But that's going to be it from us, Willow, at least on this stream. We're going to take a quick break and get some new faces in here on the broadcast, so wait up for that. The two of us, however, aren't done today. We're going to be appearing on the NA Rising stream. Isn't that right, hello?
Yeah, we've got 4 first to 2s over at NA Rising. K will be joining me for the first 2, and then 1,000 Eyes for the second 2. I'm there for all 4. You got me for Rising, and I'm here to stay. I'm excited to see my little babies go head to head once again. It's always fun seeing that kind of tier, battling it out. It feels like the matches tend to be a little bit closer than perhaps what we've seen here today. So we'll catch you that as soon as NA starts, and we'll be seeing more NA matches as well on this mainstream for Kunoichi CGL later on today as well. So you've got plenty of stuff to watch. We'll catch you with some new faces shortly, but yeah, we'll see you then.
Yeah, and we've got a really exciting match as well with these new casters coming in. We've got Valentine versus Green Fortnite, the two teams we saw face MRG. This is an exciting one. You have the Valentine core going up against a bit of a mixed up Timeless core. So you better stay tuned for that, because that's going to be a giga banger. Don't go anywhere. Don't change the Twitch channel. The Kunoichi Krush will be right back after this short break.
moving on.
He missed his head.
Welcome to the Kunoichi Krush. I'm Lightrose. Joining me is Kiara, and we are back with the last EU game of the group stage. After this, tomorrow we get into a double elim bracket to decide who gets all that prize money, and I'm excited to see these two teams really duke it out.
Yeah, definitely. These two teams, Valentine and Green Fortnite, they're both, well, Green Fortnite is a lot of the players from Timeless with a few other friends tacked on. Valentine, their reputation precedes them. Their name speaks for itself. They are the reigning Calling All Heroes Major 1 champions, probably one of the best teams in the scene outright, if not the best. Green Fortnite, of course, being Timeless Ethereal for the most part, as I said earlier, is the only other team that's consistently contested them for that title, winning the recent Calling All Heroes Minor in quite dominant fashion, if I remember correctly. But yeah, both of these teams are very, very high level, very extremely impressive teams. I would even go so far as to say two of the best teams in this tournament. In this EU Open Division, I would not be surprised if this is the matchup we see in the grand final, not in the slightest.
Yeah, that one wouldn't be too surprising. We're not going to get the full back and forth because it is just a first to two in the group stage, but we can take a look at that Valentine roster, look at some of those players that you were talking about, and I'm somebody who's a little more outside looking in, but I know most of these players. I'm very good friends with most of them, especially. And so Valentine, like you said, they come on to the Calling All Heroes scene, absolutely wipe the floor with it, and who can really contest with them as well?
Yeah, only Timeless. As history has shown us, the most recent results have shown us that only Timeless can contest Valentine. Fable did beat them in I believe it was in the minor. But they did lose in losers finals to Valentine, so it kind of evens out. But look at this Valentine roster. These are names, these are players that have been around in the scene for a while. Of course, Mari M5RI she's been a titan of the scene for a long time. Zoe, a more recent addition to the team, but she's quickly made her mark. Her Farah and her Venture are, in my opinion, the best in Calling All Heroes of any of the Calling All Heroes DPS players. Wicca, of course, a veteran. Kuna, I believe, is a last-minute addition to this roster. I don't know what they play, but...
So, we'll say that the hero portrait is pretty accurate. They've stated that their most played hero is Mercy, and their favorite hero is Mercy. So that might not,
I respect that.
That might not be 100% true, given that there are currently 3 supports and only 1 DPS on the board. So
you never know.
Hey, maybe we get some major role shifts as we go in. But
yeah, it's possible. We see AJMR on DPS or something of the sort. AJMR, of course, a very mechanically gifted player, so I don't even think that would be as out there as it seems like on first glance. I believe Kuna did actually play for Fable in the past, so she does have some experience with this previous with this this upper echelon of Calling All Heroes gameplay with this quality of players. But Kindred is also, I believe, on this team. Kindred, of course, an excellent tank player. I believe it's I believe Mari has described them as has described Kindred as the Patrick to her SpongeBob, and that they are a bit of a dynamic duo with those heroes, or with those player swaps, with those maps, with those substitutions, which is definitely a nice thing to have in your arsenal if you are Valentine. You could argue that it is one of the big things that led them to win that Major 1 title against Timeless Ethereal, of course, or well, in this case, Green Fortnite, but it's the same players.
Yeah. Speaking of, we can take a look at the other side of the coin. Valentine's opponent, Green Fortnite. As you mentioned, these are the most recent minor winners, but this was before the most recent patch that we had. So you kind of have to take all of those into account. First, we had the patch, and then we had the hotfix that came in a couple days ago that nerfed Lucio, Farah, Ramatra, and Zarya, which, Lucio, as we all know, just absolutely rampaging the meta. So, as needed, we'll see if Green Fortnite can really adapt to those changes and continue their victory streak.
Yeah, I mean, this roster is nothing if not stacked, really. Senna and Bun are just a fearsome DPS line for anyone to have to go up against, especially Senna, who was in fact on Wisp Embers last year during Calling All Heroes with, I believe, Kindred and a few other players who are now on that Valentine roster. But Senna is the Thanos of Calling All Heroes. She is one of the best hit scans I've ever seen, honestly. An absolute mechanical demon. Bun, very similar, very versatile in the flex DPS, but also no stranger to those huge pop-off moments, those huge kill streaks. Scuffed, I believe, is a newer addition for this tournament, as is Elisu. Velvet has history with Timeless. She was on Timeless Celestial during Calling All Heroes in 2023, which is Ethereal's sister team. I believe they placed 3rd in that Calling All Heroes championship that I mentioned Wisp Embers and Senna had played in. But this Green Fortnite roster, it's not the exact same as what we've seen from Timeless in the past, but it is still a very, very solid roster. Mm-hmm. Elisu, I believe, played in European Calling All Heroes for a time, and they were very, very solid from what I remember. Mm-hmm. But going into our first map, we're going to be on Nepal here.
We inched closer to the game. Wicca, very much needed meows in the chat. Can we get some meows in the chat? I haven't been able to do that. I know there's
my voice is so shot. I don't think I could.
No, it's okay. We're not calling on you to meow. This is a call to action from chat. Even though we don't have as many people as the like 60,000 there was in Calling All Heroes, I'm sure we can get a couple meows in the chat.
That's enough.
We will start our Nepal first to 2 action. We don't really see any sort of mirror. The only similarities is going to be the Baptiste on both sides and a Wrecking Ball as well, just slamming through these opponents, trying to get any sort of damage with a little bit of cleanup coming from Senna, but already Scuff taking a lot of damage here.
Bun is on Symmetra. I'm not really sure why. My best guess is that is so that she can rotate. She can use the teleporter to rotate Velvet away from that Reinhardt composition of Valentine. I believe our roster graphics are reversed, but it's okay. Green Fortnite are now going to be moving on to point, securing this first capture, unless Scuff can just like kill 5 out of nowhere, which it doesn't look like they're going to be able to do.
And the only real combo they have is going to be Senna comboing with Elisu once they get the kind of roll-in cleanup action. But without really anything else, it's kind of easy for Green Fortnite to clean up. You not only had Scuff falling and Kun is able to take out Senna, you just hide on this point, use the Mei, use the newly buffed Reinhardt shield. I mean, where is Valentine going to get in?
I believe it's Valentine that's on the Reinhardt comp.
Oh man,
which is my mistake as well, because I did mix it up the first time. But Wicca with the sound barrier now just offering so much sustain for Valentine on this high ground. And that's the thing with this Reinhardt comp. If they want to turtle somewhere, they will turtle somewhere. Like you said, that nearly buffed Reinhardt shield does has a lot of protection, but it's not enough to save Senna, or Wicca rather.
Senna. That's the change they needed. You're going to have a lot more burst damage with that Pharah. And Reinhardt, you may be able to hide in the corner, but not for very long. A good flip coming out here from Green Fortnite. And say Pharah did get that recent nerf, but I'm of the opinion that she is still a very, very strong character, especially with the cast nerf that really only Kuna can deal with Senna here. And like I said, cast recently got nerfed with that range.
Yeah, absolutely. Pharah's still able to cause so much damage, as is that pile driver for the Wrecking Ball, which is going to come out in tandem with the Minefield, and Kuna just gone before the fight even starts.
Oh, the ult coming in from Kindred. Can there be any cleanup? There is 2 for her, but Pharah is not really going to combo well with Reinhardt. He's probably one of the weakest characters. Senna's going to take advantage of that, really clean that one on up, and not a lot of good ults on the side of Valentine. Kindred's going to swap to that Malga, a good choice to hopefully dethrone Senna from the skies.
Yeah, in theory, it is a good choice, but I will say with the recent Malga nerfs, teams, in my experience at least, have been finding it really hard to... Okay, never mind.
Wow. Kind of is slammed there by Zoe. It shows you the power of what a good right click can do. Great little sunburst coming out there from Scuffed. Bun is going to be able to clean up as well. And Zoe does commit the blizzard. Can there be any follow-up? There's Kindred with 2 mega punches, taking out both those supports. A nice little flip, and it seemed like it was a little bit scuffed on both sides, with Scuffed falling, and now a Maywall is just going to end Alisu's life.
Kindred's so fun to watch. But anyways, I was saying the Mauga comp now with the nerf to Mauga's Cardiac Overdrive, it's only 3 seconds now. So what that means is it's a lot harder to get on the other team, use the overdrive to sustain yourself, and get a pick, force some big cooldowns, and then get out. But if Wicca takes out Senna, that's not even a problem, because now what can you even do if you're Green Fortnite?
90%. We're ticking all the way down here. Senna had the ult. She is dead, and now Bun will follow. There is no damage on the side of Green Fortnite. Alisu's going to be able to touch, but quickly swept off this earth. And a little bit of a back and forth first round. But it seems like, oh, as I say that, there is a little bit of a contest from Senna, but it's not going to last very long. It's going to be Valentine taking control of this first round.
Yeah, that first round was a very interesting one, because it felt like it was a masterclass from Valentine in adapting to what the other team is doing. You saw Green Fortnite with that Wrecking Ball comp. What that wants to do, it's a bit of a strange comp, especially with Bun on that Symmetra early on, and the Baptiste Iliari backline. But what it wants to do is it wants to play really split, really hard around off angles, and just slowly chip you down with those pile drive engages, slowly force out cooldowns until the other team is just battered and just falls over. But when Valentine, I think 2 things happened there. Valentine started tightening up their rotations. They started making it harder for Green Fortnite to find those little engages, those little 1v1s, those little opportunities to poke and prod at Valentine's Reinhardt comp. And conversely, Green Fortnite got a little bit more scrappy in their engagement, a little bit more split up. But now a Ramatra comp from Timeless, they want to take this straight brawl fight, and we'll see how that works out for them.
That was from the top rope, Kiara. Sen had no chance to respond without a little bit of damage there. Only the May in Valentine's back pocket. Simply just going to have to really wait that one out. Or excuse me, Senna was the one fallen. There's no immortality field, no healing at all. Some great Maywalls coming in from Zoe. You really have to hand it to her for why Valentine was able to gain control of that first flip.
Yeah, I do believe Zoe was a bit of a May player before she became so feared on that venture, which definitely helps her case here. As with these tight chokes, it's really easy to play. Okay, not if Zoe's off the map though.
Well, that is the one buff that Farah did get. You're going to send a lot of players off, whether it be with a hammer, a rocket, concussive blast. All of Valentine are just simply gone from this mortal plane.
Yeah, they have shuffled off this mortal coil, indeed, helped along the way by that concussive nade from Bun.
10% nerf doesn't mean anything.
Wicca and Scuffed having a bit of an exchange in match chat, it happens. But Valentine with this Reinhardt comp in place, they want to take this straight brawl, and we're seeing that now unfold as they start to run down onto Senna and Alisu.
Farah's got that range. There's no fall off with those rockets, so Bun can just rain in as much damage as really wants to 4v4 a tank for a support. But there is going to be Wicca, and Bun died to the May ice block. Completely calculated.
Did in fact get one. She is correct. However, Valentine got a lot more than just one. Yeah. The match chat banter is on another level in this match already. But Valentine using the weapons very sparingly in that last fight, only using the amplification matrix, and I just noticed Mari's on flex support. That completely slipped my mind. AJMR is not playing, Mari is on Baptiste. I have played against the Mari support. It is a fearsome thing, as is Kindred on the Reinhardt with Hero's Shatter.
Combined with the Blizzard as well, Kindred took a lot of damage, but there's no Green Fortnite players left alive. They are not really gonna have much chance. 64% and ticking. Green Fortnite will have about 2 ultimates that they're gonna be able to use, but it's gonna be hard to really get any usage out of that with the beat drop.
Yeah, definitely. That Soundbarrier is so useful as an ult negator, but not if Zoe's already dead. That makes it a bit harder for Valentine to play the game as well.
Look, claim one with Senna. That beat drop is not going to happen, sending Wicca flying. And what a great usage of ultimates. They are going to be able to flip that point. Just a little bit of Reinhardt trickling. Wicca's complaining that beat went off.
I believe that is our first certified Kunoichi Ajax of the tournament.
Wicca's complaining. So
I will say, I get it. It's happened so many times to me where the sound wave goes off on my screen and then I die and my teammates don't have the B HP. But either way, Wicca just went flying in the mid-fight. I can't even explain what happened. I wouldn't be able to if I tried. And neither would Senna, because she just got taken out of the fight entirely.
I was going to argue, how are Valentine going to get back in this? And it seemed like maybe they had something going, but Button got a little bit more than one. I think 3 is more than 1 in this scenario.
3 is, in fact, more than 1.
Ultimate's depleted.
We can do math.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I do know that 1 ultimate is more than none on the side of Green Fortnite.
That is also true, and it is Kindred's Earth Shadows, which have been getting a lot of value in this map. The question for Green Fortnite is if they can kite and sustain and go second with that Bastion, never mind, Kindred just running in.
Yeah, with that Immortality Field, you get a lot of usage, but you don't have much when Ramattra has all that much armor with the damage reduction that it got. Zoe's gonna be finished up upon. Wicca is barely clinging on to life, but Kuna and Mari still back in the fight, ready to take us to that second map. They're still alive, but with that tank ready to fight, ready to hold onto the point, really isn't much that Valentine can do because Kuna only has 250 HP. Wicca has about 5 in the current iteration. High Noon's going to try to get something done, and with that final annihilation, it seems like Green Fortnite, they have round 2, and we head to a final 3rd point in Nepal.
Indeed we do, and that, it has to be said, I mean, that map was that sub-map was a bit silly at times. Bun quote-unquote getting one with the barrage does come to mind. Timeless is gonna call, or Green Fortnite is gonna cause a pause, or call a pause. Bun says BRB in chat. I don't know where she's going.
There are so many, like, we could have, like, DoorDash, restroom, I don't know, cat, like, started chewing on the PC cord. There are a lot of ifs, but we do have what we have in front of us. I know that both of these teams seem to be having an enjoyable time so far. It's not like we're not calling all heroes major level of serious here, as we can see Mari on the flex support, but there's a little bit happening between these two teams that can be described as some good Overwatch.
So I will say with the Mari flex support thing, that is an actual thing they've been doing. I played against Valentine in a tournament a few weeks ago, actually. And they had Mari on Lucio because I believe it was Jutsu who was playing Hitscan for them at the time, just wasn't there. I think he was asleep or something of the sort, or yeah, I think he was asleep at least. Or no, it was AJMR that was asleep. So Mari was on Lucio. But in spite of that, Timeless and Green Fortnite, they're making this really, really close, especially that last point. It felt super end-to-end. Again, still up for debate as to how much of that was down to silliness from both teams. Wicca Ajaxing also definitely
that
was
was killer too.
One of the gamer moments of all time. It was very, I will say, Timeless on this Valentine on this Reinhardt comp, finding a lot more success than I initially expected. That Reinhardt comp, of course, they're playing it very brazenly, very aggressively. Kindred kind of just charges in and gets a pick, and that seems to be a lot of their strategy as to how to open up fights.
I mean, when you've got Zoe right there to bring up an ice wall, because it's now 250 to 300 damage, and that extra 50 damage can take care of a lot of squishies, even with that HP change that we got around Season 9. So it is a decent strategy. Even if she takes a lot of damage, you've got the Immortality Field just to give Kindred a little bit more time for the healing, to get her back up to speed, and then you've really got a brawl type comp that is clearly led by that Reinhardt. So it's a good strategy, but the swap to the Ramatra and the Pharah, I think really kind of countered it with ease, because you had that recent armor change that I mentioned with the Ramatra. You've got Pharah, who is still a menace with no fall-off damage with the rockets. There's a lot that you can do that we definitely saw from Green Fortnite in that second round.
Both of these points are very, very well made with regards to the Pharah and the Ramatra. I completely agree. I think the Pharah, especially, a lot of her value right now is being able to be both that off angle and a tank buster sort of hero, because of her mobility, because of her ability to just put out enormous amounts of spam damage, which is still completely unaffected by the nerfs. The only things that got changed were the concussive nade, which you could argue that's a part of her mobility, but I believe the knockback was also increased.
The knockback was increased, and technically, if you impact, you still get damage. So
yeah. So yeah, her utility completely untouched, and Ramatra, I mean, the armor changes, even in spite of the recent hotfix nerfs, he's as good as he's ever been, if not better. He's just so good at claiming space with that Nemesis form, just holding it for ages on end. The whole strategy with Ramatra is, I want to take this space, I want to hold it, and I want to just keep holding it. Wicca doing a little bit of trolling in match chat, going into our 3rd point shrine, as Bun is tired of Wicca's shenanigans. Responding fairly curtly, but we're gonna see now that ball comp coming out again from Green Fortnite.
Not even really testing anything else, just on the Mauga immediately to counter the ball, keep Bun a little bit behind cover, because she's gonna take some damage, has to hide behind cover and get a little bit of healing. Now, with that Illari nerf, the pylon, it takes 14 seconds now to recharge. That's going to hurt the healing output of Green Fortnite, which is going to make it just a little bit harder to deal with that Mauga. Senna and Elisu cleaning on up onto both the DPS, and with really only the Mauga to deal damage at this rate, it seems like it's going to be pretty easy for Green Fortnite to take this early on.
I do not know what Bun just said in match chat. What is Wicca saying?
They're having a good old
they're fraternizing with the enemy. She's fraternizing with the enemies. Someone call Isik or something. I don't actually know. But Kindred swapping. Okay, Kindred swapping into the Winston. Zoe and Kuna onto the Echo Tracer, looking like Valentine wants to play a bit more of that 5-man dive. This is an excellent adaptation, in my opinion. This is the adaptation that I always default to on my own teams, that I've seen a lot of other teams default to, because it works. If you all rush that backline, that Baptiste, that Yari as a core of 5 people, if you take those soft engages onto the backline to force cooldowns like the ball comp wants to do, but you do it in a more cohesive manner, it's really hard for the ball comp to play the game.
Yeah, Baptiste and Illari can't focus on healing, so it just makes it that much easier to take care of everybody else that's on the team. You see Valentine, they are really starting to take control. They're going to have to chip through the massive health pool that Elisu has, which is going to give about 10%, I believe, on over to Green Fortnite, which does get a little bit scary given that they're going to have a lot of ultimates coming online here to counter this first fight.
Velvet's just decided that she's playing ranked now and is swapping onto the Lucio, making that ult bank a little bit less scary, but the Captive Sun, the Minefield, the Rocket Barrage, all still very, very big problems, especially if Zoe goes down.
And there's that Sunburst. Is it going to catch on to anybody? Doesn't seem like it's going to have too much of an impact, but Kindred is so low, doesn't have that Primal Rage, and Bun with 2, following up with 3. Senna's going to be right there, and they do get a good usage of ultimates. They had to use about 3, but Valentine might be coming up on what you could argue last fight with almost nothing.
Yeah, that Rocket Barrage is such a powerful ultimate right now. The biggest downfall it had as an ultimate was that it's kind of hard to kill, kind of easy to kill afar. But with that protection Suzu in play, less so, as we're seeing the protection Suzu from Mari be used early on in this fight.
Ooh, nice one clip onto Kuna. Echo is just kind of scrambling to get anything, get out of cover. It seems like Senna is here to claim lives. A Primal Rage is going to get thrown out. not going to do much besides maybe keep Valentine in the fight for a bit longer, but Senna is not here to play. Taking health all the way down, grabbing that Mega, keeping Kuna and Zoe's control, and we'll be able to get out for a bit more of a fight. But while that's happening, on the actual point, the rest of Green Fortnite is taking care of whoever may keep that overtime wick burning. It is Wicca and Zoe does not have that extended health pool that a tank has. We're just prolonging this, and eventually Green Fortnite will be able to take round 1, and they will be able to go on match point.
Yeah, that adaptation from Valentine, I think, was a good one. It's just the issue of Green Fortnite having a better ultimates at that point in time, and especially we saw that fight with the Captive Sun, the minefield, a minefield that got similar amounts of value as this one, of course, with Kuna just getting really, really unlucky there, honestly, with the high noon. But as I was saying. Sorry, the match chat was.
It's always
the match
a
chat's
pleasure.
very alive.
It's
really
so fun.
is. It really is. But as I was saying, the ball comp from Green Fortnite's a very unorthodox adaptation, a very unorthodox spin on that Wrecking Ball comp. A lot of the time, in Overwatch 2, what you would see in terms of supports would be something along the lines of Ana Yari, Bap Zen, Ana Zen. I personally believe the Ana Zen variation is the best, but in this current meta, who knows? Anything's possible. And it really felt like Green Fortnite had a really good idea, a really solid grasp of how they wanted to take those engages, which helps when you have Senna, who is just 1v2ing the other team's DPS line and winning. It definitely makes things easier.
Yeah, that one clip followed by the kill onto Zoe. It's pretty nasty. I mean, I'm trying to think if there were any ultimates on the side of Valentine that helped them on that third point. Like, there's nothing really in my mind that is saying, like, yeah, this point helped them really flip things over. It was mainly just the swap onto the Winston. They dived onto the sports that gave them that initial flip, but other than that, it really was just Green Fortnite through and through.
It really was. Fortnite is going to have to rebrand. Epic Games is currently drafting a proposal, as Green Fortnite looks sublime at the moment. Valentine, of course, did take that first control point. Full credit to them. They played super well on the Reinhardt composition. But Green Fortnite, I think as well, for both teams, this really does feel like a game of adaptations, a game of who can counter the other team's playstyle, counter the other team's composition, especially when both teams have such good DPS players. Zoe, of course, was on fire those first 2 points on the Mei, getting just so many of those big icicle right clicks to the heads of the Green Fortnite players. But going into King's Row, our second map, I think King's Row is like the only hybrid map I've casted in this tournament thus far, which is great, honestly.
And King's Row has been around since the initial, like, spawning of Overwatch. I know technically Temple of Anubis was, I believe, the first map that they technically made. It feels like King's Row is older than that. Like, it has been around, and it will be around when we are dead. No surprise, these two teams really want to head here. So we'll have to see what the attack defense kind of setup is really going to be, because I think that can be a good example of what we are in for, whether or not we're going to see Valentine really take Green Fortnite all the way to that third point, force them to have a sublime attack, or on the opposite side, if we're going to have a stalwart defense and it's just going to be a game of inches compared to miles.
Yeah, one of the games I casted yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Professor Gibble versus Transformers was definitely a game of inches rather than miles, to use your analogy. I believe Transformers only capped 34.3% on the first point on their attack, which is a bit unfortunate. I mean, it happens, but it's a little unfortunate. We always do want to see more of that high quality Overwatch, more of the big highlights, the Ajaxes and such. That make this game what it is.
I don't know if that's good Overwatch. Like, Ajaxing is considered like a big mistake, quote unquote.
That's true. I may be coping because of how much I Ajax in my own scrims, but I feel it depends actually on the cause of the Ajax. If it's like
That's true.
a wildly mispositioned Lucio or a Lucio using Sound Barrier on like 50 HP, yeah, then there is definitely.
So what are we calling
it
Wickas
definitely
then?
would be. Wickas cannot be explained by science. I don't know why she was in the air like that. I actually don't. There is no scientific phenomenon that can explain that one, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to rule that as external interference. I really don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
Top
10
but let's hope it
mysteries in
doesn't happen again.
science.
Top 10 saddest anime moments.
Yeah.
Except the anime is Valentine versus Green Fortnite UK.
That is, right now it is that is decent anime matchup. It's back
does-
and forth. A lot of highs and lows.
It actually is. It really is. I'm waiting for both teams to have their power up sequences. And
That will probably
if they haven't
happen.
already,
Yeah.
it probably will happen. It will be very, very entertaining to watch. I'm just imagining, because there was a period of time where Valentine had jutsu,
Mhm.
and what he would do is he would lock Reaper and use the Reaper the walking emote and just walk in a straight line towards the other team.
Oh my God.
That to me, that seems pretty. That seems pretty emblematic of a power-up sequence.
Yeah.
Just the pure aura of doing so in a competitive match. So who knows? Maybe we'll see someone on Valentine break that out again. Pay tribute to Jitsu in a way. I don't even know where he is, if he's playing with this team at the moment. Probably not. As I believe their hit scan is normally Wisps. Don't quote me on that.
Mm-hmm.
I do not remember. He's with Professor Gibble at the moment. The team. Professor Gibble, the team. But going into King's Row, I think we're gonna see a little bit more variety in compositions, as it's definitely more of an open-ended map versus Nepal. That's the Nepal was our control map. This is true.
I think we also had excuse me. I think we also had a little bit of a sub. I don't know if that was more match chat shenanigans at the end there. But I mean, we're gonna kind of have to wait to see. We're getting into King's Row hopefully shortly. We want to get into the action as much as you guys. We're not just kind of waffling to waffle. I know the caster's like start game button is always the one thing people want to bring out, but so far,
Is this a tournament or a tournament?
I know, yeah. Wait, did you say is that a tournament or a tournament?
It's a thing from Plat Chat Valorant, the Valorant podcast that Sideshow and Bren and them do. It's a long running joke within his community. It's a great one.
I've never heard that one before, but then again, I wasn't really like a Plat Chat watcher.
I think it's more localized to Valorant anyways, but okay, you're right. There were substitutions. So Mari is still on Baptiste. Excellent.
You're gonna have a
Okay, Peace is coming in on Flex. Flex DPS.
Bun is in the Twitch chat, so
Bun is in the Twitch chat. I do not have Twitch open. Hello, Bun.
yeah, she's joining the audience for enjoyment. So talking about comps though, Valentine on the defense first, pretty much the exact same as we saw like round 1 of Nepal. Can't say the same for Green Fortnite. Peace is going to be on that Pharah, but Alicia on the Winston, and what I would assume Senna would be swapping after potentially an initial shot.
Yeah, I would assume the same. Of course, I believe it was Wisps on that Widowmaker in Professor Gibble versus Transformers in their match. Oh my god, Kindred, okay. Starting off strong for Valentine, a huge fire strike onto that Pharah. Isn't able to get the kill, but we're seeing Valentine sort of just playing around this backside of the point, turtling behind Hotel, I believe it's called, as Peace dropping very, very low. We're gonna see Green Fortnite sort of just jostling for these off angles, looking for those little pockets of space to play in, and Zoe's very disconnected from the rest of her team.
Trying to get a catch, Kindred with a fire strike. I guess I gotta take back what I said. Pharah is prey to Reinhardt at this point when Kindred is in play. There's one last player, that is going to be Senna, and Scuffed alive, so a very, very strong start to the defense for Valentine.
Kindred might just be the alpha threat on this Reinhardt, honestly. She might just be her. She might actually just be Joanna Reinhardt. as the kids say. I don't know. Please do not let me ever say that again. Anyways, Mari is building up to this amplification matrix at quite a steady rate. Definitely faster than Scuffed on that nano boost. So we're going to be able to see Valentine probably just looking to hunker down and turtle with behind the shield of Kindred here, behind the amplification matrix to keep everyone topped off and healthy. Peace, though, is building up to that rocket barrage, so if Timeless or Green Fortnite is able to find an opening, it could be very, very big for them.
Huge purple coming out from Scuffed. That's 3. Velvet and Seta just make great use of that. And now Mari and Lil Baptiste all alone. The play was really based off of the Winston and Pharah kind of coming together for the jump, but I think Scuff just kind of said, you know what, I'm going to make my own play, and just took care of everybody there. But we could see a Valentine recontest. We aren't going to, so we'll have a couple of seconds of recharge before we get into another fight.
Yeah, and that little reprieve for Green Fortnite is going to be very, very good for them. It's going to enable to get that last bit of ult charge to about 3 ultimates, that Pulse Bomb, that Rocket Barrage, and that Primal Rage, which are all very, very important. I think the Rocket Barrage is just going to come out instantly. Oh my.
Actually isn't able to clean anything up. It's mainly Alisu on Tamari, but barely surviving is enough for Valentine at this point. They get to sit all nice and pretty. I was going to say with their 5 ultimates, but Kindred just decides to be a little goober and kill Scuff, just solo ult.
I get it, honestly. Kindred just causing Scuff to lament their existence, question their suffering as Elisu in peace, punishing her for her hubris, getting 2 picks, and forcing Valentine to retreat. A fight that probably didn't go as well as Valentine wanted it to, but they still forced a lot of those key ultimates. They forced all 3 of the ultimates that Green Fortnite were starting that fight with. Now it's just Elisu and Velvet with their Primal Rage and Sound Barrier respectively, and Valentine, like you said, they have 4 ultimates now.
Surely, it's gotta go right for them here. You only have to use maybe 2, but Scuffed with another purple. Kuna has no opportunity, and the Primal Rage of Elisu is simply too much for Valentine to deal with. I feel like this whole map has just been me eating my words, and Zoe lasts a little longer than everybody else, which is not going to be good for Valentine. And what is happening? Green Fortnite should not be doing this good with this little ultimate.
The thing with ultimates is a lot of the time it's not necessarily if you have them, but how you use them. And we're seeing the Green Fortnite's getting a lot of value just out of their setup, out of their cooldown engages, which to me screams that they're extremely well drilled on this comp. They know how to play it. They know how to play to their strengths, and it's really showing, especially with Scuff from that Ana, which is not really a conventional pick in today's meta. As Elisu gonna go in and do the exact same thing to Kuna again.
I mean, if we saw Kindred bullying Scuffed earlier, Scuffed has decided to take it out on Kuna this time. The Blizzard falls through. Zoe isn't able to get anything because Elisu and Senna find one apiece, and Kindred cannot get out with her life. And Green Fortnite will continue to rampage. They've got about 3 minutes and 30 seconds just to tick that final box all the way at the end and make Valentine have to have a wonderful attack lest they do not become the first seed.
Yeah, Valentine's now on this Joker Queen composition, and Senna! Oh no! Senna, please! She's just winning every 1v1. It feels like the high noon comes out from Kuna and Peace will follow, but not before he's able to get the trade out onto Kuna. Kindred on the Joker Queen, though! The Queen is running rampant! She's back! She's better than ever with the recent self-heal buff, and she's gotten 3 in this fight already, showing Valentine that love is not dead, and they still do, in fact, have hope.
Yeah, that's one way to get yourself back in the game. Sometimes it just takes a hero play, and Kindred was that person to step up. So now we're kinda all even. Only Velvet Sound Barrier to really rely off of. You're still going to hope that Scuffed is going to be able to hit those purples, that Peace can hit a good rocket, and the beach drop will follow through. That's a lot of HP that Valentine are going to have to chunk through. A 1-for-1 tank for a healer is pretty good, and with Kindred having her damage doubled with the Matrix is going to make it a lot harder to get through with Valentine. But Kindred and Peace are able to get 1 each, and I think that's going to be enough to keep Green Fortnite away from the cart.
So this Junker Queen comp matchup is actually really good for Valentine. This is an excellent adaptation because, as I've mentioned earlier, the Winston comp it's a weird one. It wants to play for those soft engages. It wants to play slow. It wants to play for little engages, little in and out, push and pull, to force the Junker Queen comp's cooldowns. But the thing is, that's exactly what the Junker Queen comp wants to do. It wants to go in with that shout. It wants to go in with that speed boost. It wants to force cooldowns, and it wants to get into the other team's backline like Kindred is doing now.
And you didn't even really need that because Kuno was right there for 2, make it 3. So what was it? 3 minutes and 30 seconds has now essentially trickled down to a minute, maybe 45 seconds. The ult advantage that Green Fortnite once had is gone. The only play has to maybe come from Scuffed or just a lot of burst damage coming in with the Winston jump.
It feels like it's a lot harder for Green Fortnite to get those nano engages onto Kuna now.
Not
if Senna just takes out Zoe though. I guess I digress.
Yeah, it is the 1-for-1. The pulse bomb doesn't really get on a squishy target, but Senna can still clean up onto Kuna anyway. The beat drop is enough to keep Valentine alive for a little longer, but Elisu just sends Mari straight into the front line of Green Fortnite and now jumps directly onto the quad that is on that left side. Kindred gets that axe slam right onto Elisu. Kuna's high noon sends Green Fortnite back just a little bit. And honestly, if you're gonna lose this fight, you need to lose it now. We're coming on 25 to 20 seconds, and it is still a very split fight.
Yeah, it's definitely still hanging in the balance, but Kindred cleaning up once more. Wicca, that is Velvet. That is not Wicca. But Velvet's the only one with a with an ultimate online for Green Fortnite. Senna and Peace building towards their ultimates, but it's a matter now of if they can even touch Senna on that trace. They're gonna try to make something happen, but Elisu's fallen so early, the recall forced, and Green Fortnite are going to be held at the gates. They will not complete this map, and Valentine, it has to be said, played that third point excellently.
I don't want to usually call like one person the quote-unquote hero, but I think Kindred going on to the Junker Queen just threw everything that Green Fortnite had straight into the gutter. The mojo was gone, the aura, the momentum, whatever you want to call it, it was completely evaporated out of the room. And they really had no way to get it back. Every single fight, Valentine was the one to get it started, was the one to clean it up, and they stopped Green Fortnite from getting close to that final checkpoint. And I think there's a good bit of leeway in between that final checkpoint and where the card actually ended.
Yeah, there definitely is. I think a big part of what happened with Timeless, or with Green Fortnite, I keep saying Timeless, it's not the same exact team. But what happened with Green Fortnite on that attack is down to the changes in map geometry on that third point. It's so much harder to get onto Mari, or to get onto Kuna, to get onto Mari because of those big corners, because of those high grounds. But also Kindred swapping onto that Junker Queen makes her team a lot more resilient. With that commanding shout, with the speed that it grants, with the overhealth that it grants, especially with the increase in the overhealth that the Junker Queen receives from it. But now Valentine, they're going to stick on to this Junker Queen comp, and Green Fortnite pulling out that Wrecking Ball composition from Nepal.
Might be a little bit harder to get it to work with Kindred's knife, because it is just going to throw a little bit of a wrench into your momentum, which can be very difficult. A great little jab. Senna might be yanked off the high ground, but will stay. And now there is an initial engagement coming out from Valentine, close to getting that first checkpoint, and Zoe taking out Peace will make it a lot easier just to stay on this point, soak up that damage, avoid Senna. That is really the only primary target that you have to deal with, and as long as she is kept at bay, then you will be perfectly fine. And there isn't anything else coming out from Valentine. Senna cleans up onto Wicca. That Immortality Field does its job, and it seems like this initial engagement will get a... I was going to say that first checkpoint. It will not, and Green Fortnite will stay the course.
Yeah, a big part of what's making this fight so hard for these engagements so hard for Valentine is that Senna is so hard to push off this high ground. Kindred swapping to Diva, that's a really, really good swap in my opinion. That's gonna make it so much easier for her to pressure out that Diva and for her to pressure out that Ashe to eat the poke with that defense matrix, which did get buffed in its duration. That being said, Scuffed, Senna coming up onto their ultimates, they could make this fight very, very hard for Valentine to do anything, especially that with that captive stun.
Might make it a little harder to deal with the Wrecking Ball, but it seemed like it was mainly Senna and Peace. That was the problem, Zoe! No time to react. Elysiu just simply bursting her down. The bomb in response to the beat drop as Wicca did get it off this time. There is no server-side, client-side interaction. But you could argue that maybe it was wasted because Green Fortnite, they win the fight easy as pie, and they still have 3 coming on 4 ults to fall back on.
Wicca, please. Wicca is just making threats that I'm sure
she definitely has the evidence to fall back on.
There is evidence. There is in fact evidence. Peace's career is gone, turned to reduced to atoms, as will Valentine potentially after this captive stun from Scuffed.
Kindred going to be demeched. Rest of Valentine still ready to fight, but they are getting surrounded at all sides. Stuck inside this hotel, Wicca on a basically 1 HP, and Peace is just going to enter with the immortality field, so self-damage be damned. Doesn't matter a bit, and now there's only a minute and 10 seconds left for Valentine to make anything work.
Mari is swapping onto the Ana, and it feels like from Valentine, this is a matter of them just being forced to take engages in areas that are very, very favorable for Green Fortnite. It's so easy for your composition to collapse onto the other team if they're all stuck in one room, as Peace is looking to be now.
There's that rush that you really want the Diva to have. It's not gonna last very long because Wicca and Zoe immediately fall, and now there's a swath of Green Fortnite players directly onto Kuna. Senna hits the headshot, which means Mari will fall, and now only 30 HP separates Kuna from death. And I think Green Fortnite, they really have a great grasp on this entire defense.
Yeah, 30 HP separating Kuna from death, and 30 seconds, 20 now separating Valentine from a second defeat. Map loss on King's Row here, and you were right. Green Fortnite has an excellent idea of how they want to take this engaging. They're almost corralling Valentine into the areas that they want to fight in, and doing so expertly, as going into this last fight, the sound barrier comes out from Wicca, hoping to make anything happen for Valentine.
While Kindred and Zoe are getting the job done in Green Fortnite's backline, Peace and Elysiu will hop into Valentine's backline just to deal a lethal amount of damage. Nuclear bomb is going to go off. It does not do anything. Oppenheimer's a little sad about that. It seems like Kindred, the only one who can really get anything done along with Kuna, they simply have to bide their time on the point, which is not going to last very long. And not even a first point take. It is going to be Green Fortnite getting to 2 maps and taking that first seed.
Yeah, Green Fortnite just shut down Valentine so definitively on King's Row. It really looked like Valentine had a chance to take the map. I'll be honest, after that defense, after that Junker Queen swap, got so much value.
Look at standing there.
Velvet is just standing. She's just giving up hope in the fight, which is honestly fair enough. But it was Green Fortnite that ended up dashing the hopes and dreams of Valentine against the cold, stony pavements of King's Row. With that defense, with that Bappu Yari Wrecking Ball composition, I've been converted. I'm a believer. I'll just say it. It worked so well with those high grounds, with those off angles, enabling Senna to take the angles that she wanted, enabling Elysiu to be able to force Valentine to fight in those areas, like I kept saying, that are favorable to the Wrecking Ball composition, to get those big pile drives, to enable Senna to hit the big dynamites, get Peace to get the big splash damage off onto multiple targets at once at a time, and build up those ultimates that are so key. And Valentine, in the face of that, they tried swapping to the Diva, which offers that damage mitigation, but they're still playing it so heavily around the pathing, and if the pathing favors Timeless or Green Fortnite, there's really not much you can do.
Yeah, definitely an enjoyable comp to see. I mean, maybe Mari shouldn't be on the flex support. I know that there's definitely Maybe an issue. I don't think it's the main problem, of course, because like you said, they definitely run it consistently enough. But with the type of comp that Green Fortnite was running, the healers just did not have any room to breathe with that constant pressure in their backline. But all that being said, that's actually it for you and I. We've only got one game. We got to decide who was going to be that first seed, but we do have more Kunoichi Krush tonight with the North American Open, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that one later tonight. Keep your eyes and ears open, and we will see you later.
Indeed we will.